Alrighty team, in this video we're going to be going over building and crafting your weekly structure. So by now you should have gone through the previous video where you mapped out your quarterly structure, your holiday, your planning time, your monthly structure in the mini holiday that you want to take each month, and also the planning time that you're going to allocate, and then the day off or a couple of days off that you're going to take every week to restore your system and relax and revitalize yourself so you can get back into the next work week. So if you haven't done that already, make sure to go back to the previous video and go through that process. And in order to get the most out of this video, you also need to go through the previous exercise in the last video where we talked about writing down all of the actions that you take each and every week, and then starting to categorize them into what actions do you take in your morning routine, what do you do in your night routine, and then what are all of your production-based activities, what are the main things that really drive growth for you moving forward in the business or your life, and what are the main maintenance functions or maintenance activities that you have to keep up with and just perform and execute on each and every week. And then lastly, you should have written down a list of things that you love doing and recovery activities that you can do and spread throughout your week, in your night times, your downtime, and also in your time off on the days that you do take off each week. So make sure to go through and check that video out, execute on the activities, and now what we're gonna do is basically convert all of that into a calendar structure. So the reason why I like using the whiteboard for this is I'm a really visual person. So I really want to, map all this out on a whiteboard first before I get into my calendar, before I touch any digital laptop or system. And I want to really feel into what does my ideal week and daily structure look like? Because if I'm not happy with my weeks, if I'm not really happy with the way I've designed it, I need to change it. I need to do what feels good for me personally, okay? And I really want you to take that approach into this video too, and do what personally feels good for you, because that's what life is all about. It's about feeling great, feeling energized and vitalized, and then essentially moving forward from that place. Because when you do things and perform your activities and tasks from a place of heightened energetics, a heightened like energetic vibration, well, the work that you produce is going to be far better, and the results that you get in your life and business are going to really just start to take off as well when you're really taking care of yourself and your own mental, physical, spiritual state of being. Okay, so now what we're going to do is look at your weekly structure, and once you do this, you can do this in a journal, you can do it on a whiteboard, it's totally up to you. You can even do it in a spreadsheet if you really want to. But once you do this, then what you can do is essentially convert everything that we're about to do here onto a Google Calendar or whatever calendar that you like to manage, because if it's not on your calendar, it's probably not going to get done, okay? So here, looking at this structure, the way I've mapped it out, obviously we've got days of the weeks, and then we've got the 3 different segments of our time, because the way I like to view my day is in time chunks and time blocks. Because if we're not blocking our time, then we basically just write a list of tasks in our journal that we need to get done, and then we just look at our entire day that's open, and then we just try and get things done as quickly as we can. But typically it's going to take you quite a long time, and you're not going to be as productive as you can be in comparison if you were to structure your days in time chunks or time blocks, okay? So here, what we've got is the first time block of your day. And the times in which you do these things are completely going to change for you, right? You might be an early bird and you get up at 5 a.m. and your morning routine is going to start at 5. You might be a normal person that wakes up at like 6:30, 7 o'clock, and then your day is going to start then. You might be a late riser, where you're getting up at 10, but then your wind down is like 2 a.m. and like in the nighttime, okay? So it doesn't matter what times you do these things, it's more about the structure and the order in which you do them, right? So typically what I like to do is look at my time blocks. So I've got my morning routine, and that takes up my first time block, okay? Then I've got basically my working zone, right? And my working zone is typically going to be or consist of 3 main work focus zones, all right? Any more than that, any longer than that, and I typically find that I fade out and I'm not as productive, all right? So I like to look at my work and my activities that I perform on a consistent basis in 3 work chunks. So this is going to be like a session number 1, is going to be a morning segment. Session number 2 is going to be like a late morning, early afternoon segment. And then my work chunk number 3 is going to be my afternoon work zone. The reason why I start to tally and allocate these up in these ways is because we're all wired differently, right? And if you're a go-getter in the morning, then you're gonna feel great in the morning. And therefore, you should probably prioritize getting your main thing done first thing in the morning in your first work block, right? Like getting the big, gnarly thing done right away where you feel the most creative, the most inspired. But if you feel like shit in the morning, then you might want to start structuring your main thing for late in the evening. And you might want to get your main thing done at the end of the day, because that's when you feel most energized and most charged and most creative. So you can apply flexibility into this structure. This is more about helping you start to create containers for your work so you can simplify your mind. So your mind, when you're in work, you're not worried about all the loose ends that you have in your mind, because you've created blocks of time and containers for when you're going to get each task or each project done. Typically what causes so much anxiety is when we're in work is thinking about the million things that we need to do and not knowing when we're going to do it, and especially if we don't have a plan for when it's going to actually get done as well. So the way I like to look at this, in the last video we spoke about the different core themes, okay? Production, so P stands for production, M is for maintenance tasks, and R is for recovery. And then this is obviously morning routine and night routine down here. Then what I like to do is basically in each square or each block, I like to create a little square and create like a code for myself so I know, all right, what's the focus going to be in each work block, right? And then that allows me to start not worrying about the tasks that I'm going to perform there yet. I'm worried about the different core themes. So, is block number 1 going to be a production activity, a maintenance activity, or a recovery activity, right? So for me, I like to really allocate and align days or like different themes for different days, okay? So if you're an entrepreneur, this is probably going to work really well for you because you have complete design of your entire schedule, right? And the reason why I like to keep a core theme, you'll notice that I've scheduled production activities for my Mondays and Tuesdays. That's because I like to attack the week hard and fast. I like to get the biggest, gnarliest, juicy things done early on in the week. So then I reduce my stress, I feel good, I feel a sense of accomplishment and advancement in my life. And then, if there's extra production activities that I want to do at the end of the week, I can. But that allows me to really just, approach the rest of my work with greater ease, because if I'm setting the tone for my week on a Monday, and I'm just getting into maintenance activities right away where I'm doing admin and fucking email, what is that doing when I hate those activities? So what it's gonna do is drag my energetic state of being, my vibration down, and I'm gonna feel like crap. And then if I start my day basically, looking after everyone else and putting out like fires everywhere, well, I'm not really gonna feel too inspired to go and create content or advance and build my platform here, because I'm not feeling good and I'm not in a creative state. So that's why I like to start the week by getting the main thing done first and prioritizing Monday and Tuesday for me, but it's not always for me, it's for creating the highest amount of value for others. And when I protect my Monday and Tuesday in that way, where I'm not worrying about email communication, I'm not on social media, I don't have my phone on me, it's like, that's when I'm able to really just get into deep flow states and work states to get the main thing done in my life. Then midweek, I like to focus on more, like maintenance activities and sales. And then on a Friday, it's all about creating marketing content for the next week so I can have it all scheduled. So then when it comes to Monday, Tuesday, I'm not worried about, oh fuck, what do I need to put out there? What marketing stuff do I need to put out there? And I'm not behind the 8 ball. I'm getting ahead, so I'm preparing at the end of the week for the week ahead. And I'll explain more intimately how I design my specific schedule. But what I would like you to do is, if you have a whiteboard, map out a similar graph. Map out your days and also your time blocks throughout your day. Because at the end of the day, we live in a physical realm and time exists here, Like we can get all spiritual and stuff and say time doesn't exist, but the reality is in this physical realm, it actually does. So we need to optimize and we need to get the most accomplished with the time that we have available to us. And the way that we can do that is we want to start looking at our schedule and we want to start grouping similar activities together. So as I mentioned, if you're an entrepreneur, you have total flexibility and you can literally look at all of this and be like, all right, what do I want to put here, there, there, there? But if you're an employee and if you have a job virtually or in person somewhere at the moment, well, most of your time is already going to be taken up, right? But if you do this activity, you can look at the time blocks that you now still have available for yourself, right? And as you do that, you can then identify the one thing that's really going to move you forward if you're trying to create a side business or a side hustle. Well, if you identify the time block that you're going to devote to that every single week, in time, in a month's time, in 3 months' time, in a year's time, you're going to be able to look back and you would have gotten so much done. But if you don't map out when you're going to get your main thing done, it's not going to get done. And that's going to lead to uncertainty because you're not going to know what to do, how to do it, when to do it, which is going to then breed procrastination. And then procrastination is going to really start to hijack your levels of personal power, your certainty in yourself, and your confidence in yourself as well. So this is about really creating structure for discipline in your life. And then when it comes time to getting the thing done and you do it, that confidence, that momentum is going to really compound over time and continue to amplify. And if you ever want to get anything done, you really need to start allocating a time for yourself in which you can do it. So what I like to do is, as I mentioned, we've got our production activities, we've got our maintenance activities, and our recovery. I then like to create subcategories for each one of those, okay? So my production activities, the 3 main production activities that I perform on a weekly basis are going to be creating course modules, okay? Sales calls and marketing content. So then I create a small subcategory called PC, which stands for production course modules, PS, production sales calls, and then production marketing. Then my maintenance activities, my main maintenance activities that I can kind of group together are going to be MC, which stands for maintenance coaching calls, MP, which is maintenance planning and systems development or maintenance, and then MA, which is maintenance administrative everything. So texts, calls, emails, all that stuff goes into that bucket. And then what I've got is I've got a new one that I'm going to introduce to you, and that's called date night. And this is going to be the nightly block on a few of my evening routine days, okay? So DN stands for date night, and then I've got 3 different types of date night. Date night S, which is date night with myself. I have to recharge myself and vitalize myself in order to show up for anyone else. Then I allocate one night as well, at least, for date night with DNP, which is date night with your partner, and then DNF, which is date night with family, okay? So once you create your own codes and your own structure, then what you want to do is basically you want to prioritize how much time you're going to allocate to each one of these things. So for me, I know I want to attack the week. So my big production activities are going to be on Monday and Tuesday. And as I mentioned, if you have a chaotic schedule where you can't allocate days, what you might be able to do, right? Say that on your Wednesday and Thursday, you've got a lot of blocks already taken up. But what you can do is at least allocate maybe a 3-hour or 4-hour segment a day to maybe your one thing. Whereas me, I can allocate days to my one thing, but you might only be able to allocate 90 minutes at a time for now. It might be a couple of hours, 3 hours, half a day. You really have to work with whatever parameters that you have available to you at this point in time, and always have a vision in mind for what you actually want to create. But setting this up now is going to enable you to create the ideal weekly structure that you want to be living in the future. So my morning routine, what I do, I've left that blank because my morning routine is pretty much the same every time, and I have an order and a sequence in which I do everything in my morning routine, all right? So I'm not going to worry about that. We're going to actually talk through in another video. I'm going to show you my exact breakdown of my daily structure and routine, and then that might offer you some inspiration just to get to see what I personally do, and that's basically optimized on what works best for me, and then you can take that and run with it and apply it, or take maybe something that you'd like to apply into your life and experiment with it yourself. So as you do this, then what you want to do as you create these little codes and you write the code in, then you can actually write in a bigger form what the actual activity is. So an example would be PC. Well, I know PC is course modules, so then I'd write that in here. So then once you create the theme for each block, once you're done, you can then basically go out and in your Google Calendar, you can create similar blocks with actual times in which you're going to get things done. So when you put it on the calendar, you'll get notifications and reminders that you're doing that thing. So if you're ever in doubt on what structure you want to create in your life, you can just go ahead and get that thing done right away, and with consistency as well. So that's essentially it for this one. If you want to basically break down my personal routine and structure, then all you have to do is look at the code and then plant in the code and see where I would personally put that thing myself. But I'm not going to spend time to write everything down. I just wanted to create the structure and show you how you can utilize this in building your initial weekly structure, so then you can start to break it down at a deeper level and look at all the micro tasks that you need to get done in each time block. So that's it for now, and I'll see you in the next one.